The words of a wise man are despised.
Yep.
It's poor, you know, the poor.
Hey, well, Apostle Tar, you always bring that out. From the Paul Simon and Garfunkel. There's a line in the song that says, "The words of the prophets are written on the subway walls, tenement halls." Now, who dwells in the? Come on, man.
Yeah, they called Jacob prophets.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Hey, well, Galilee, that was considered
The ghetto.
ghetto, yeah.
Yeah, the ghetto.
Even though Goshen, yep, Goshen, yep.
Any captivity that we was in, that we was in, the place where their houses was in the hood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Goshen was the hood.
Nazareth. They said, can anything
That
good come out of
was the
Nazareth?
hood. That was Harlem.
Yeah.
And I believe somebody said the word ghetto means corner. Now in Isaiah 30 it says, "Thy teacher shall not be pushed up into a corner anymore."
Right.
So the Israelites were put in a corner.
Right.
They're the Lord's chosen people. Never let them come into their full power, because if they do, they're going to rule over us.
Kal Halal Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Akak Wadash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom Yasharala. The reason why I opened with that clip of our beloved elder apostles at work, to quote Elder Malcolm, was I knew I wanted to say some words regarding not only the death of Black Rob, but the fact that 200 rappers died in 2020. Elder Manata Zakba from South Carolina did a video on it. I'll pull one of the scriptures he quoted. But the reason why I decided to preface, I guess we can call it my testimony, by using the opening clip is, for those of you who don't know, the name of the group my brother and I formed in the early 90s was called Ghetto Concept. Now, if you were paying attention to the other apostles' conversation, then you'll understand by the name alone why I always say the Spirit compelled me to put music in the corner and lend my efforts to the ministry of this truth, and how it further relates to what the elder from the Carolinas said in his lesson about speaking things into existence. By the way, I can still perform, produce, songwrite, compose, and even consult on music. You never get too old for anything when you have 20 years plus in any particular facet of industry. Besides, those who no longer play can still coach, right? But truth be told, this truth has nothing to do with that industry. In any event, I'll read the same definition of ghetto that Bishop Sakaran read later on during the Apostles' Live lesson for April 17th. I believe he pulled it from Wikipedia, and it reads as such. Ghetto, a part of a city, especially a slum area, occupied by a minority group or groups, put in or restrict to an isolated or segregated area or group. As Elder Apostle Aramla began to say, no different than the Indian reservations and the poverty-stricken conditions we were forced to live in, subject to Esau's perpetual hatred of his brother Jacob, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the Hebrew Israelites. And the definition from the online etymology dictionary, the brother from the Men of Valor had touched on. Ghetto, 1610s, part of a city in which Jews are compelled to live. As the elders said, the Jews they were really talking about is us. And listen to this, reading on from the same definition. Various theories trace it to a clipped form of Egitto, Salakia, if I'm saying it right, Egypt, from Latin Egyptus, presumably in memory of the exile. Pursuant to Deuteronomy 28, and speaks to the Israelites' exile to spiritual Sodom in Egypt, aka Babylon the Great, which we know is America. Now, despite what these despite what the scoffers might tell you, you know, people love to only highlight the negative. They never like to speak on the balance of things. Nevertheless, my group was heavy on social commentary and bringing social awareness through commentary. We made it a point to point out that anything that manifests mentally must manifest physically. Ergo, the pitfalls of the quote-unquote ghetto state of mind. Being God body, of course, we spoke on the scriptures, prophecy, and the tyranny of big government. Being well-traveled, we were well-rounded, and really we touched on everything. The one scripture that resonated with me during my stint in making music, especially when we got hip to the whole Mark of the Beast thing, being the chip, and started speaking on it in about, I don't know, 95, 96. It's 96, beware of biochips, yeah, about 96, was John 4:4, and it reads, Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus, himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Pretty much why we moved to the States, and I know it sounds a little presumptuous, but as ahead of the times as we knew we were, it wasn't going to get us any rotation if we didn't carve out an identity where the records that drove the industry were actually being made. So we made that move. And truth be told, we weren't privy to the knowledge of the workings of the ghouls and goblins that ran the industry, the oaths and rituals yet. And at that time, we were all about freedom, justice, and equality, entrepreneurship, self-ownership for the so-called black man. So the mission, at least what I thought at the time, was spiritually driven. Thank the power for the truth, but we didn't know about the truth until years later. And I gotta say, we had a joint venture agreement with BMG, because after so many no's, bumps, and bruises, you should never intend to be signed to no cracker. This is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 20, and it reads, A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruit of his mouth, which goes back to Proverbs 12 and 14. A man shall be satisfied with good by the fruit of his mouth, and the recompense of a man's hands shall be rendered unto him. And with the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Pretty much reiterating the same thing and speaking to the idea, what a man sows, so shall he reap. And basically the idea that I was trying to touch upon of speaking things into existence. Proverbs 18 and 21, Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So to land back off of the elder from South Carolina, when your sole conversation is death, murder, kill, homicide, it becomes your reality, a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Now, luckily for us, no such thing as luck, but anyway, we were balanced in both words and deeds. Kal halal Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, the Most High Power, in the name of the Son be praised. Hence my transition, which was far from smooth, but nonetheless from the trap to the truth, so to speak. Sounds like a gospel album. No doubt in my mind, though, it was all written. Matter of fact, let's get this scripture, because Elder Apostle Gabar alluded to it but didn't get a chance to bring it out. This is Isaiah chapter 30, verse 20, and it reads, And though the Lord Yahweh give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, meaning the hell we catch especially in this truth, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. Now really the point I wanted to impress on whosoever is in the listening circumference of my voice is, the elites are well aware of the hood mentality and ghetto state of mind. In fact, they feed on it. They are well aware if you perpetuate violence constantly and consistently in art, music, and entertainment, to the point that the culture itself feeds and thrives on it and needs it to exist, sooner or later it will make manifest physically. It not only speaks to the cutting and shooting you see going on in the industry, it also speaks to the repeated drug use and the debilitating effects that show on some of the new rappers. And of course, there's the overdoses causing death that add to the body count. And something I learned a long time ago as a 5%er, and by the way, the so-called black man, the maker, owner, cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, is God. He's just not the Most High Power, Yahweh. He's the son of the living power who will fall like men and die like one of the princes, roughly paraphrasing Psalms 82, 6, and 7. And that's all. In any event, I learned a long time ago that when brothers act, the sisters react. Ergo, the sisters reflect what they see from the men. On top of the fact that when we were removed from the home by Esau's welfare system under his social assistance guidelines, there went not only the protection over the home and family structure, but overall order in the household of so-called peoples of color. Once Esau started laying out the feminism blueprint to suggest to our women that we ain't shit. They said, yeah, niggas, you ain't shit. I don't need you. I'm independent. I can make my own moves, my own money. I make my own rules. Why do I need a man? It got to the point that they couldn't see the error in conducting themselves as men, and we got to justifying it by calling them bitches. Not only did we perpetuate the idea through the music that it was okay to treat them the way they were acting, we proceeded to tell you to make it rain on them and reward them for their wicked behavior. Genesis 3:15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. This speaks to that perpetual hatred between us and Esau, like the two different nations in the womb of Rebekah. Out of Eve is going to come the wicked and the righteous. On a spiritual level, the whole construct is like being at the crossroads and having to choose between two gods. Esau, who appears to have all the answers, and Jake, who ain't got a pot to piss in. A less than virtuous woman is going to choose E. The truth is, your wife is not built to tell you what to do. The natural order of things is for your wife to hearken unto you. This is why Yahweh has to destroy Esau and his wicked system of confusion, because in E's hands, the world is unbalanced and out of order. Today you can clearly see, at least I can, that the same perpetual hatred has given way to ritualistic sacrifices, for I guess lack of a better terminology. I mean, didn't it seem strange to you that DMX died and they decided to interview Black Rob, who himself looked like he was near death? They were both on Mace's 24 Hours to Live, and then suddenly both died days apart. No mention of Rob in years. That didn't seem suspect to you? I don't know. Without getting all spooky, woo, when Israelites die violently in the hip-hop music industry, that energy is being harvested and monetized, plain and simple. Nowadays, rappers are worth more dead than they are alive. That's the underlying factor to why 200 rappers died in 2020. It's great for business. Let's not forget the heathen's time is short. He knows this, and so misery loves company. Something to also consider, the same elite leadership that has its hands in the created overhead Salakia at digital media outposts like YouTube has long been called out for facilitating the violent beefs and rivalries in hip-hop and then compensating the parties involved monetarily. I believe Dame Dash spoke about it on the Joe Budden podcast. The scriptures tell you that Esau is not satisfied with blood alone. Let's close with this. This is Ezekiel chapter 35 verse, we'll start at 5, and it reads, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, speaking to Esau Edom, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, by the force of the sword, which is Esau's blessing, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end, speaking of the time when Yahweh was bringing judgment on us for us not keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Since you make a living off of war, misunderstandings, and violent disagreements, Esau, and you love shedding blood, because you live by the sword, you must die by the sword. Ergo, because you live to shed blood, your own blood must be shed. Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 7. Thus will I make Mount Seir, speaking of spiritual Mount Seir, meaning America and the elite leadership of Edom, most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out of him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword being those thermonuclear missiles. And I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, meaning Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is going to turn America into one big desert, like a Walmart parking lot on Christmas, for the wickedness done to Jacob. And ye shall know that I am the Lord, whose real name is Yahweh. Call halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem HaKakodash, to the power of spirit. I hope you were edified. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom Yasharallah. Remember, don't take that test, don't take that jab, and damn sure, don't take that chip.
To MRAC TV, state your name, where you calling from, keep it clean and keep it short. Let's get it.
I can't really state my name.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of parties involved in the Bad Boy situation.
Okay.
All I will say is that it's not a coincidence that he paid for the hotel room and now he's gone. I just want people to shine more light. That all this is about him being exposed. You got to understand, if these people would have told what they know, it would have been a totally different situation. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.